Juventus, Herc, is one of the few clubs not doing their preseason in the United States, which is just as well because I don't think we'd be seeing much of Weston McKennie. The 25-year-old midfielder did have a team-high 9 Serie A assists last year, but despite that, he's been told he is not part of new manager Thiago Motta's plans. He's got 1 year left on his contract, which would, of course, make him a free agent next summer. Here's the specifics on what Motta had to say on Weston McKennie and really others. I think the question was directly about Federico Chiesa, but here it is. Quote, "We have been clear with them. They are talented, but must find other options where they will get more playing time. For Chiesa and the others, the decision has been made." Herc, we've been hearing transfer rumors all summer between the Premier League and Major League Soccer. Where does this latest news out of Juventus leave Weston McKennie?
I mean, he's on an island. He's on the unknown right now. Think about this. He's 25, will be 26 this month, Sebi, coming off a career year in terms of numbers, double-digit assists for Juventus in a season where he started almost 30 games. And we're talking about his future, the uncertainty, like he's a player that's not played in 3 years, like his career's over. We went from this guy's going to make a massive move, get a bigger paycheck, to him saying, you know what, Juventus, I don't want this money. No. This isn't enough. I want out. And they say, well, you'll get out. To Aston Villa being a prime candidate. And then apparently he agreed to it. And Juventus like, wait, but Aston Villa, we want $25 million. And nobody's going to pay $25 million for Weston McKennie right now when his contract is up next summer. To having Cincy come about and Weston McKennie honestly entertaining Major League Soccer at this stage of his career. At 25 going on 26, entertaining an offer from FC Cincinnati. And here we are. This week, Serie A kicks off. And we're asking what's next. I don't know how we got here, Seb. I don't know how we got here. From a career year to now with the changing of a soon-to-be new U.S. men's national team coach. I mean, if you don't play, you're not guaranteed a place on the national team. And with Greg Berhalter, he was almost guaranteed a place on the national team every single time. And he responded, he earned that. But if you don't have a team, if you're not playing, if you're not in a good situation, if you're not in good standing, then it doesn't matter who the manager is. He's going to come in and say, I can't call you in.
I don't want to be dismissive of Weston McKennie because he's obviously pulled it out of the fire at Juventus before, right? There's been a moment where Juventus said, we didn't want him, and then look at what he did last season. This does, though, start to feel a little different, right? Because it's the manager saying, I got no use for this guy, and it's the club saying, I got a use for this guy, and that is to sell him, to bring in some funds, to bring in some other players. So there's motivation on all fronts for Weston McKennie to move. But I think the biggest salary he's going to command is MLS. I think the biggest transfer he's going to command is MLS. And so I think the test here for both parties, but really more for Weston McKennie than Juventus, is just how bad do you want to stay in Europe? Because it might take some type of pay cut or some type of step down, certainly, from a club like Juventus. And these are decisions, Herc, that guys don't make at this age usually. You're making it at 30, 31, maybe in some cases your late 20s, like Carlos Vela, maybe some of the U.S. guys after the 2014 World Cup were in their late 20s. Weston McKennie is 25 years old, and I do think it's a direct line. I do think if the temptation is there and he comes back to MLS, it's not going to ruin his national team career, but it's going to seriously impact it. So because of that, I hope that even though obviously Aston Villa has fallen off, they seem to have taken care of the need that they have at that position, that something comes about. The issue is, Herc, that much like with Gio Reyna, there's just not a lot of links right now to Weston McKennie that aren't MLS. You mentioned FC Cincinnati. I've seen Inter Miami as well. The only real European options I've seen of late are Fiorentina, which might not be bad because it's Serie A, so there's some familiarity there.
Tanner Tessman's there as well, and he's a cheaper option.
They've got, they made Europa Conference League, I think, too. So at least there's some European football there. The other one I saw was Fenerbahce, which, of course, is now managed by Jose Mourinho. So that could be a very interesting fit. But the point here is, Herc, the links to Weston McKennie, which at one point were dozens by the week, have now dried up, and there seems to be very, very little interest in him and a few other American players as well at a critical time.
It's a reality, man. Listen, nobody's spending like that, especially not on an American player who his last European adventure outside of Juventus was a relegation with Leeds. It's a reality. You're coming off a dud of a summer. You didn't increase your value there. This doesn't just go for Weston McKennie. We said the same thing about Giovanni Reyna. We could say the same thing about a handful of other players. Matt Turner. In each line, you could find a player that is struggling. Timothy Weah. That's a reality. I don't know how much of this is on Weston McKennie, though. I really don't. Because the club says you have to go because we want to sell you because we know we can get some money from you. And the coach who's coming in and says, I've got no problem with him leaving because he's not a player that I'm going to use. And you're coming off a career year. How much more can you do? Apparently, he was squared away with Aston Villa, which I think under Unai Emery would have been an amazing opportunity for him. But if Juventus doesn't concede their transfer fee demands, I don't know what he can do. And my fear is he's going to be caught in this tug of war, much like Alphonso Davies, we just mentioned him, and he may be frozen out. It may be a sit and wait, and how long can you wait it out? And if you're waiting and nothing happens, there is the temptation of Major League Soccer or Saudi Arabia or any other suitor that comes in like Turkey, whatever, who has money and kind of sways you with the temptation. That is my worry here.
Well, listen, he's a free agent at the end of the year. So if Juventus does want to get anything for him, there's some pressure on the club as well to sell now. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I think maybe 20, 25 days about left in the transfer window before the transfer window closes across Europe.